going on? What's going on? Well, to help out with this documentary, I want to introduce myself. My name is Codak, as they call me. My people call me Codak. With that, I first got started with the Augusta hip hop scene, the b-boying scene in general, back in 1996. I know, I'm sure my age. It is what it is. I first really started getting into it after meeting, I think it was Kelvin, right? Me and Kelvin, I went to Evans High School, right? So we lived in Martinez. So Evans High School is where I went. I met Kelvin in a computer programming class. I'm not sure how we talked about breaking, but he told me that his brother was trying to learn how to break, and that he wanted to introduce me to his brother Alexer. I then met up with Alexer. Alexer then kind of pointed me to the rest of the Islanders in the area, and so I got up with I met up with my boy Dunn, my best friend Dunn, to this day. Met up with Donald, Winston, and all of them, and I met up with them just mainly just going to different Filipino American parties around town where we would actually dance and break. And then from there I started going to Augusta State at the time, and I really started getting really into it. By then, me and Dunn met up with Wes. We formed a crew called ILL Crew, ILL Crew, KREW. It was myself, Jason's brother. It was Dunn, some other Filipinos and other Islanders around town, and pretty much we just had that crew. The primary ones that were traveling at that time, I think, was myself, Dunn, Wes, aka Wes Lundy, rest in peace. We would travel around to different parties and jams. We were primarily the crew that actually battled against everyone else. We had some other members of the crew, Aaron, who else? Donald, basically, and I'm probably missing one or two others. It's been so long. But basically, we traveled any and everywhere, different parties, different jams, and battled any and everybody for any remote reason that we could. Most folks didn't even realize that folks out of Augusta would actually dance, but at that particular time, in my opinion, Augusta had a really good dance culture in general. So whether it be hip hop, or whether it be R&B, or whether it be just any dance in general, there was always some kind of dance, something going on in Augusta at the time. But I primarily hung out with Islanders in general, and we'd go everywhere and party everywhere and do everything together as a group. And wherever there was a jam, we would go and battle out and go from there. Primarily, my focus within the group was All Style, which is before All Styles. At least I didn't know it was called All Style at the time. I just danced. I considered dance was dance. Whether it be b-boying or anything else, I kind of meshed them all together into one art form, mainly because that's what I did. I did all types of dance, hip hop dance, b-boying, and everything else, housing, this, that, and the other. I then met, I think we were breaking for a while. That was from 96 to about 96, 97, 98, roughly. Where we were heavily forming in Augusta. We met up with Chad. Chad would come and practice. He would bring Josh. Josh would come and practice at the Augusta State Complex, which is right down the street from Augusta Mall. And that would be the primary place where we tried to practice. If we weren't at Donald's house, or if we weren't at Aaron's house, or if we weren't at some other Islander's house, somebody's house, Pete's house, it didn't really matter. We pretty much were breaking wherever we could get a space to break at. We would primarily meet after work. I worked at the mall at the time. Mostly everybody worked at the mall, except Wes. Wes was a cop at the time. And we'd meet up at Mimi's Pizza. I think it's Mimi's, off Tobacco Road, I think it was, right down the street from Farrington. And we meet up there at least 4 times a week. 10 o'clock at night, maybe 11 o'clock at night, and we'd break until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, or until we couldn't do anything anymore, to muscle failure. And we did that regularly on a regular basis, or we'd go to Aaron's house, or wherever there was a jam, whatever, we'd be in the garage doing something, breaking and practicing. And what we do is we all travel with the rest of the Islanders. We all travel together to different jams up and down the East Coast, from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I don't remember any jams in Florida. I think we did a couple of jams in Florida. Atlanta, definitely, and just battle, break, battle, jam, battle, and just break all the time. b-boy wise. Just do everything all the time and challenge folks. And that was and another good important part about Augusta is we always had a hard time finding a place to break at. That was a consistent theme around Augusta. I don't know why that was, but we get kicked out of some place doing something because we couldn't break there or they didn't want us there. Only time that we wouldn't get harassed by cops would be First Friday downtown, and First Fridays were very important because that was the main spot. Everybody would come downtown during First Friday. Everybody, the whole downtown would be lit just with folks all over the place. So we'd either be breaking at the Soul Bar or if they would let us, right? There was some other club we'd break at downtown. I forgot the name. This is where DJ Richie Rich used to DJ at. Shout out to DJ Richie Rich. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to DJ Snow. He would let us throw jams there as well at his club right around the corner from Broad Street. But we just jam out there at the clubs and just break and battle. And create our own kind of internal scene. And that's one thing I kind of love about Augusta is we actually had our own scene. We didn't wait for anybody else to set up anything for us. We created our own type of scene anywhere and everywhere around the city of Augusta. I think Chad at one time through some kind of rave or jam at Regency Mall a couple times. Pretty much we had each section of Regency Mall had its own separate rooms. We had like Chad would through like have a jungle room, drum and bass, hip hop, R&B, old school, electronic breaks. DJ Richie Rich would be the headliner throughout there. Or it was so much fun. But we had our own scene. We had our own set of DJs. We had our own scene. We had our own parties. We had our own jams, and it was mainly geared around locals. We rarely would have to go out of town to do anything outside of battling other folks. But we always threw our own. There was always someone throwing a jam locally, and we all supported. All the owners supported them. Everybody supported the jams locally, black, white, or otherwise. But that was fun. That was dope. But First Fridays was our number one thing. We would be on the side of the corner, breaking. Chad would be in his apartment up there. We were breaking down below. That's one good thing about Chad having his apartment down there because we actually set up shop in front of his apartment and do whatever we wanted to do without being bothered. Cops had never bothered us at all during First Friday. It was a real open environment and it was straight concrete. Sometimes we didn't have linoleum or cardboard and we'd still be breaking downtown. It really didn't matter. Especially at Mimi's Pizza, the floor was so bad that we had the tiles would be on the floor next to the pool table. We would move the pool tables to the wall and then try to set linoleum in the middle. If we didn't have linoleum, we used these square tiles, and we'd be breaking on there. I'd come home, arms all shredded up and shoulders all bruised. Another good thing, we first started breaking when I met up with Lexer and Dunn. We meet up at I think it was Lexer first before I met Dunn. We'd meet up at B-Boy Ivan, I think of Air Force Crew. I think he was dating some female that actually lived here in Augusta at the time. She had her house in Columbia County. Nice house, man, nice neighborhood. But she would let us come over her house. Her parents would allow us to come over her house, and we'd break in their day room. And that's where I met this cat named House, who's a choreographer. I think he's in Europe right about now. But he heavily influenced my dance style to actually not to be b-boy, but then not to be housing, but not to be, not to be any one of anything, but to be but to keep the dance art form in general, which heavily influenced my style of not always having a style. I call it lack of discipline, but according to House, he would always tell me as my mentor to never have a style, but to keep a dance art form an art form, and to always use various types of styles into one. From around that time, that was around 97 when I met House in Alexa, right? 96, 97, met Alexa, House. From there, I met up with Dunn, Wes, Aaron, Pete, all them jokers. Met up, Winston, I think wasn't around at that particular time, but I knew of Winston as an OG, right, of breaking. So we all kind of dwelled amongst the same folks. From there, around 97, 98, I met, but with 97, I met Wes. Dunn and we all formed Ill Crew. From there, we met up with Jarrell. Jarrell was a tagger. He did like all the artwork on our shirts. I wish I had the sweatshirt now, but I don't have it. They did the Ill Crew logo with the guy, B-Boy crossed up and everything else. Wes, we all had our own little sweatshirts and everything else. From there were jams around town that DJ Richie Rich had, that Chad was a part of as well. And other promoters and other DJs as well, drum and bass DJs as well, that were around town that did their own shows and promotions. From there, we met up at Garden City. We did jams at Garden City. Well, Wes knew of Rich, DJ Richie Rich. Between Wes and Richie Rich, they would do jams at Garden City Civic Center, Garden City Center, which is pretty much right next to. It's off Highway 1, US 1, Aiken Augusta Highway, but it's on the left if you're going towards Aiken. And now I think it's some kind of church now, but back in the day it was nothing but a big open scene with a big stage with DJ booth. It was like an old skating ring, I think it was what it was. And so it would floor and be a break dance and everything else there. Oh, I had such a good time. That's where I actually met up with Edric, B-Girl Vendetta, which at that time I didn't know B-Girl Vendetta was actually a girl because she had cornrows and it was underneath the beanie, so I couldn't see her when I met her for the first time. And I thought it was a little dude, hey, Codak, you don't want to learn how to break, this, that, and there. I thought it was a little dude. It wasn't until after I battled her for the first time that when she took off the beanie, I realized it was a female. And I was like, oh, snap, okay. So that's how I met B-Girl Vendetta before I forgot what she called herself before then. When she went to Georgia State University, she then called herself B-Girl Vendetta. But seeing her grow as a B-Girl was dope. To understand where she came from in Grovetown and then doing jams locally, then going out and then getting with other crews in Atlanta, and doing jams out there was dope. Met up with Edric and Juice from there, which we've been family ever since then. It's good to see Edric traveling around the world doing B-boy stuff. That's actually dope. Just knowing humbly, where he came from. I remember practicing with Edric, and he had his parents had a trailer in Grovetown, and then next door to the trailer was like a house that his dad was building, and it was dope because inside this house they had doors on the outside. It was like cinder blocks on the outside. The doors were there, but there was no electricity, no light. And Edric would literally practice. Me and him were practicing there. Juice would come over too. Juice would tell you about it. They would practice in that house when we didn't have any other place to practice. I'd go over there and practice with them. And the house, we'd go there and practice, and there was no electricity. We have shop lights that were turned on in the middle of the room. They held linoleum in the stereo, and we would break there with no ventilation, no nothing, just breaking on a regular basis. And I remember those days. Like sometimes I don't think we had linoleum. I think we just had cardboard at that time. I don't remember what we had. All I know is I was always going home bruised every night, cut up and bruised every night, which actually kind of played to our advantage at least. Because when we go do jams, a lot of times the floors weren't always the best shape, but we'd be in there just breaking, windmilling, head spins, all the crazy stuff all the time. Wes would be there doing windmills. He had so much momentum, you would actually feel it off the floor that he'd do his windmills. It was dope. Done with his crazy styles, which is dope. Every one of the members of our crew, in general, within the Ill Crew itself, not even with the Ill Crew, I would say everyone in general in Augusta, everyone had their own style. From other islanders to Donald having his little windmill bomb move that he would do. I would have my own unique style. Dunn had his own unique style. Wes had his own unique style. Everybody had their own unique style. Old School has his own unique style. Nobody, I think in Augusta, we take pride in having our own style. We never did copy anybody else. Then we would rob Peter to pay Paul, right, so to speak. Take certain things and change moves up and then re-articulate that into a totally different move. But you wouldn't necessarily see us doing other people's moves verbatim. Never would you ever see us do that. I think then it began to happen where we would travel. Our goal, Ill Crew wise, was to decimate the Decepticons, which was a DJ crew, a B-boy crew. I think they were in North Carolina or South Carolina. They're in the Carolinas somewhere. But they were a production crew. They did like drum and bass and electronic music, dope production. I'm not even sure they're still around today, but they would do huge parties, huge jams, and we'd go there to battle. But our whole thing was the battle. So even during our practices, anyone and everyone can get it at any time. I don't care whether you're the best b-boy in the crew. If someone called you out, you would have to battle, and that was our mantra. It didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter whether you won the last battle. Anybody could call you out. Even a newcomer coming to practice could call you out. Winston would call you out, or Wes would call you out, and you would have to battle that one person back for back for back for back. And there was no time limit like battles these days where you have a time limit. There was no time limit. You just kept going and going and going until the other person could not break anymore. And that was our time limit. So however long that took, you would keep going back to back to back until you couldn't do anything anymore. And pretty much it was like a last man standing. If you were able to do something at the end, you won. So that was dope. And that was the cohesiveness around our crew. We would be at the different Filipino American party events around town, battling, breaking, playing with the kids, breaking. I mean, it didn't matter where it was at. In the mall, breaking in the middle of nowhere. Alexa trying to do, he was trying to learn flares, and there were these pillars in the mall, and he would practice on these pillars around the water fountains, you know. And oh man, those are the good old days. And we would get kicked out by security, you know, just crazy. It didn't matter. But it was always hard breaking in Augusta. Also, later on, I guess 98, 99, 2000s, around that time frame, 99, 2000s, after meeting up with Edric and Juice, I met Mr. Wiggles back then. Rob, what's up? Holla. Mr. Wiggles. Old School, I met with Old School back then as well. And just breaking in, I think Old School had his house over there, and we're just breaking in his living room. He would move his furniture to the side, and we just break in his living room, like all the time. I'm sure, like at that point in time, it was probably driving his significant other mad. But shout out to Old School for heavily contributing to our ability to go somewhere and do something instead of being caught up in doing crazy stuff. We actually had a place to go to. Old School would open up his house, his garage as well. We'd break there as well, you know, in and out while we're going through college and this, that, and the other. So, in general, I really appreciate the roots of Augusta in general, of all the different dances in the community coming together, and then creating other opportunities for for all of us to do our art form. We'll be Chad throwing parties, Alexa meet, you know, hey, you know, we got this jam over here we got going on, or DJ Richie Rich throwing us mixtapes, Snow allowing us to host events downtown in the building that he was renting out or doing his club at. Robbie's is another staple. Of course, I think Robbie's is still open to this day. We're going to Robbie's at any given time, and Robbie's, if you're unaware of, I think it's still going on. It's like a pool hall right off Washington Road. That place has been there for years, and we would go into Robbie's. And one thing I love about Robbie's, they would have like pool tables up front. You can come and shoot pool, and then they have the bar, and then they have like the little dance floor with the mirrors. It probably still looks the same to this day. And then of course the DJ booth up top, where the DJs would be. And I bet you they still have the same playlist they had back then. But we could go there and break at any given time. No problems at all. They would not kick us out. They would actually encourage us to come, because they encourage other folks to get on the dance floor, and I guess they probably could sell more alcohol at the bar. Whoopie did. But Robbie's is a staple where we would go when we were coming up. If all else fails, we couldn't go nowhere else to break, Robbie's would be open. And we go to Robbie's and break there. But that's dope, man. Just meeting everyone from around town, you know, whether it be inside the city or in Richmond County, or whether it be Grovetown. We would always be in either one of those places, either in Evans, Martinez, or we'd be in Grovetown or Hepzibah, practicing breaking at Mimi's off Tobacco Road, or wherever it was at. But whenever we would leave, one thing I always found interesting was no one ever thought that, you know, folks from Augusta could actually break. And we're like, yeah, there's tons of B-boys and B-girls and breakers and DJs, heavy DJ scene in Augusta. And that's one thing I miss now. Like, I hope the DJ scene is still going on. But we had a lot of ill DJs in Augusta. To this day, DJ Richie Rich, peace homie, very influential between him, Snow, and some other DJs, where they kept the art form going. There were times where they would be throwing different jams, and they would let us know what was going on. Hip hop wise, there were a lot of like just doing shows, hip hop shows. There was, who was it? What crew member was out there? There was a b-boy crew out there that would always do shows. I think it was not Black Thought. It was Freedom Black. Freedom Black. Shout out to Freedom Black, man. Freedom Black was it was him and his partner, and I forgot the name of the crew. But they would always do hip hop shows in Augusta, and they would always encourage the b-boys and b-girls to come out to support their events. Somewhere off of not Broad Street, but I think it was Green Street or Broad Street. There was like a little theater that was there, and Freedom Black and his partner would go up there and do shows. And what I would do is, when I found out Freedom Black was there, I would get up with all my people, and we would go there and just break dance while they're doing hip hop shows, just supporting hip hop, supporting other hip hop events. And what that ended up doing was they ended up creating a good rapport amongst artists downtown with the b-boys in general. And whenever they would do shows, we would show up and break, and that kind of fostered and helped grow and support local events, because we would actually be breaking and while they're doing their shows, which is dope. So Augusta has a lot of good history as far as supporting hip hop in general, b-boys and b-girls in general. So I think we dismantled our crew shortly before West died, before he passed away. Ill crew kind of broke apart. I think Dunn moved to Atlanta. I was finishing up school in Augusta. Wes was doing his career and I think being a cop. He ended up dying of an overdose. So rest in peace to him. But we kind of broke up and kind of spread out from there. But it's good to see that Juice is still around doing stuff with his crew. I think even Chad at one point in time formed a Break Yourself crew, which was another crew, you know what I'm saying, that we actually rolled with. You know, I think Juice is in the crew. I'm not sure if Edric was in the crew, it was myself. I think Josh was still going on with that. Chad was involved in that as well. I'm not sure if Chad's gonna do a video, but he was definitely influential with that. Even Chad even started his own dance studio downtown, or partnered with someone that we would actually go there and had a place to actually break at, instead of breaking on the corner or getting kicked out of spots where we couldn't break at anymore. So the community in general goes back, and even the spirit of promotion, production still goes back with Rich. I think Rich still does production to this day. Chad still does production to this day. I'm not sure if DJ Snow still does. I'm not sure if he's still in Augusta, but just being around those guys and those atmospheres kind of fostered the hip hop community that we had back in the day. And I think Augustans should be proud of their history amongst the Islanders and everyone else, of that culture of dance and music. Arts and a heart, very, very big amongst Islanders and everyone in the community of Augusta, where you have different art forms of dance coming together and displaying it. Cinco de Mayo, filling the streets up with people just dancing on the side of the streets. Very dance oriented for the city that, you know, the birth of James Brown. So I would say to all my people, please know your history. Support local venues, support local DJs, and then dance or support your local movements. And then that actually gives you other abilities to do more stuff within that community because you're all there supporting one another. So shout out to Juice, man. I appreciate you doing the documentary. Shout out to Edric Old School, Winston, Aaron, all my people forgot you, Dunn, Donald, Peter. I'm forgetting somebody else. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But anyway, this is Codak, man. I'll hop back at y'all later. Peace. But that's the history from my perspective. I'm sure Dunn has a better memory of what's going on with it than I do. But it's been a while, right? So that's why we're sharing these videos, documentary. But I'll hop back at y'all, man. Peace.